A South African woman tells a story about how she met her husband. Okay, okay. There are many things I took out of her story, which I know are very, very true about Nigerian men. She talked about independence. Okay, now let's do a little throwback as to how everything happened. She talked about that she worked as an air hostess, and one would think, okay, maybe that's how she met her husband. No, she didn't meet her husband in South Africa either. And she met her husband when she went to train to become um, to leave where she was working as a air hostess to work in another place still in the airport, because she wanted to work on land, not this everyday traveling and all of that. So she did that, went for the training, moved to another country where she met her husband, saw him the first time, they just looked at each other and nothing happened. They met again after another year, again in the same area. They didn't talk to each other. I think it's the third time they met that the guy, his friend, walked up to them. She and her friend went out also for a drink. And then the husband, who is not the person who is now her husband, now walks up to them to talk to her. And the friend now tried to shove him out of their way. So she walks up to the guy to say she's sorry for the way her friend treated him. And he was like, it's okay, it's okay, and all that. And he appreciated the fact that she felt bad and came to speak to the guy. Now, you see one thing about Nigerian men, just give them that respect. You see the thing she did, that's one thing that won the guy's heart. That she came and, reduced herself. I would like not reduce herself in a negative form, but stooped to conquer. And she paid attention to details, because it takes a very deliberate woman to do things the way she did. And then the Nigerian guy now asked her out on a date. Not, he wasn't forward about it. Just say, can they go out to play a particular game? And it happened that she lived very close to that place. And yes, she went out and they played the game. And she also tried to maintain that, respect, that you can't come into my house, that all of those things. And before you knew it, the guy was taking charge already of so many things. That's one thing I love about Nigerian men. And this is why you see a lot of times all these people from outside Nigeria, they love Nigerian men, because Nigerian men will want to find out how you're doing. Have you eaten? Okay, now she mentioned that she was going to another city to do something, and then she now goes by telling the guy, because one thing about relationship is, if you are independent, like she mentioned, that a woman who is over independent is not good. You should be able to be accountable to somebody. So she now says that she liked the fact that her husband, who was then her friend, took over her life. Like, everything she used to struggle then, she was no longer struggling to do those things. She was now doing things and, checking it with him. And men like that kind of thing, where you check things with them. You want to go out, to tell them, I'm going out, you want to do this, you let them know, this kind of things. And Nigerian men, once you have that soft, should I call this domain or whatever, I don't know the English word to use. If you understand their rights, their position in your life, you enjoy a Nigerian man to the fullest. Now, she talked about her husband being a very calm person, that he doesn't talk much, like she doesn't talk much, and they know when to give themselves space. That is another thing Nigerian men like. It's good to be, all about with your husband and all that, but knowing when to draw the line, even as married people, you know where each other can give yourself space. That's another thing I took from that conversation that may have made her to earn herself that kind of wonderful man that she married. I may not have met her husband, but the kind of traits she had put out, trait as in TRAIT, traits she had put out about her husband shows that of course, Nigerian men, see, the way Nigerian men are wired, or the way they were brought up, is that the man is supposed to provide everything. So she talked about how they were traveling on that trip. She just called to say it. And the guy says, wait for me, I'll take you. So he comes to drive her to the place. And this is something he didn't need to even do, because then they weren't dating, they were just friends. They were friends. I would say they are acquaintance. I don't know the word. So this guy offers to drive her to the place, and before she got there, she didn't know the guy had booked for the hotel. And now this guy books a hotel and books a hotel that has two beds. Like the room or the apartment where they were to stay had two beds. So they were not going to sleep on the same bed. So that is another thing I liked about the Nigerian guy. He was stooping to conquer. He wanted to do it the right way. So he didn't need to fall on her and say, you must do this with me and all that. And you see, I tell people that the way your relationship starts is very important. How you start a relationship, it's how it's going to go. And I tell people this. For me, I'll keep advising any young girl who might be watching my videos or that if you are not married, you don't have any business sleeping with a man. If you are not married, though, I did this thing right from when I was much younger. I didn't like all those things men will come and be touching you. I didn't just like it. Like it puts me off. So I noticed one thing about me. I used to say that I like my body too much. People say, "Hey, it's not the same thing." I say, "No, it's not the same thing because what that person have is not what I have. My body is different. I have my body type, my skin, everything is different." So I used to have that thing at the back of my mind that when you respect yourself, anybody that comes across you will respect you. You can see, and the funny thing about people like us is that we can play with men, we can joke with them, but we know when to draw the line. So those are the things she said that I was like, wow, this is great. So they have a great love story. And this to say that a lot of people have met their husbands, they have met their spouses. They have not coined the love story around how they met. And if you miss out on knowing how you met or remembering how you met, all the little details, those are the things that will keep two of you. Like sometimes we talk about these things and just laugh. She talked about where they went to pay for something and they started counting coins. You can imagine this is about 12 years ago, but she still remembers because she was deliberate about everything that happened. So I just feel that Nigerian men are bred a different way. They are brought up to take responsibility, and that's one thing I tell parents, even as your children are very little, they should take responsibility. If your kids are fighting, they should apologize to each other and let them hug themselves. My kids will not want to hug, so they will try not to have issues. But of course, issues will arise. So when that happens, I call them. I say, "You apologize to this person. That one that feels his hurt, I'll tell him to apologize to this one, and the other one to apologize to this one, and it works out. It does work out, and it's always good, you get. So I feel that what she did was good. Her meeting with her husband was God's intervention. God just orchestrated it, because how do you meet somebody the first year you didn't talk, the second year you didn't talk, I think about the third year or maybe the end of the second year, you people are now talking, and then before you know it, it's blossoming. And she talked about how all of a sudden she, who used to be very independent, will now speak to this guy on the phone and slip off. So it became, there's a grew the bond. And see, I keep telling people that create that relationship where you become friends. I don't know if I can meet a total stranger and begin to and agree for him to touch me. So I used to wonder how all this, the sex hawkers, how they used to, just meet somebody and now they are all over the place, you get. So you should be able to, anybody you want to marry, don't rush. Just go ahead, create that balance, create that chemistry. I like the fact that the Nigerian guy did not fall our hand. He did not fall our hand, though. See the way he did not even touch her to say, "Come, I'm going to touch her." So Nigerian men are respectful. They accept you are the one that want to put yourself in, because men, they used to say that men cannot trust their third leg. Already you know what a third leg is. So if you put yourself in a position where a man want to do, they do before he marries you, tell. But some of us, of course, when I met my husband, he said it to me that he cannot marry a woman he has done the do with. And me, I told him, I think I mentioned it, he said he would not. I would not either. I told him, I can't even start negotiating that. So it worked for us. We dated for 2 years and we got married. And we've been married we've dated for 2 years, married for 13 years. So I've known my husband for 15 years. So if the year my husband met me, I was done with school, I would have been 15 years in marriage now, because he came and wanted to marry me immediately, because he said God told him I was his wife. Like he saw it, God kept showing him. So I'm not right now. My husband cannot come and tell me, "Hey, after all, I've slept with you before I marry you," because that's the respect the woman will have. By the time a man has not done anything with you, he marries you, the respect will stay. And I use that to teach my kids to say, keep yourself, so that when both men and women will keep yourself, my son, keep yourself, my daughter.